American firms said to be interested in oil and gas exploration in the West Philippine Sea. And China ready to restart negotiations on oil and gas cooperation with the Philippines. Discussions were terminated during the Duterte administration.
Beneath the waves of the South China Sea sits a jackpot so massive it makes Vegas slot machines look like piggy banks. We're talking billions of barrels of oil, trillions of cubic feet of natural gas, and a geopolitical tug-of-war, hotter than Manila in July. And smack in the middle of it all, the Philippines, holding the keys while the US and China circle like sharks in business suits. Beneath the waves of the West Philippine Sea sits enough oil and gas to make even Jeff Bezos raise an eyebrow. We're talking around 190 trillion cubic feet of natural gas and 11 billion barrels of oil in proven reserves, according to US estimates. And that's just what's already been confirmed. Like finding money in your couch cushions before realizing you own the whole sofa factory. But if you thought that was big, wait until you hear about the mystery loot scientists believe is still hiding down there. Spoiler: it makes Aladdin's cave look like a piggy bank. Back in 2012, the US Geological Survey suggested there might be another 160 trillion cubic feet of natural gas and 12 billion barrels of oil lurking beneath the seabed. Translation: the Philippines is literally sitting on an energy gold mine so big it could light up Asia for decades. Meanwhile, China's estimates are even more inflated, because of course they are. When your demand hits nearly 13 million barrels of oil per day, you'll believe in fairy tales if it keeps your tank full. And here's where the plot thickens. This isn't just about drilling holes in the ocean floor. It's about who gets to keep the lights on and who gets left in the dark. Right now, the Philippines relies heavily on the Malampaya gas field, which powers 40% of electricity in Metro Manila. Sounds stable, right? Wrong. Malampaya is basically the smartphone battery that's flashing red. It's expected to run dry by 2027. No replacement means rolling blackouts, higher costs, and a national economy that looks like it's running Windows 95. But wait, before you say, "Oh, that's a local problem," let me remind you, when one domino falls in Asia's energy chain, the shockwaves don't politely stop at the border. Enter the US stage left. Washington's been eyeing joint exploration deals with Manila because helping the Philippines drill for oil isn't just charity, it's strategy. Keeping the Philippines energy secure also keeps China from treating the South China Sea like its private swimming pool. Think of it as energy security with a side order of "don't mess with our allies." But here's the catch. Every time Manila tries to explore its own backyard, a certain neighbor shows up uninvited. And no, it's not that one ant who borrows money, it's China's Coast Guard. Take Reed Bank, also known as Recto Bank, one of the juiciest oil and gas sites out there. Whenever Filipino crews try to start exploration, China sends its Coast Guard to escort them away. And by escort, I mean harassment. It's like trying to mow your lawn while your neighbor revs his Harley on the property line. Annoying, loud, and technically illegal. So what's Manila's plan B? Well, it's less energy jackpot and more spare change in the sofa cushions. But hey, at least it doesn't come with Chinese ships breathing down your neck. To avoid confrontation, the Philippines is redeveloping Cadlao oil field, which holds around 5 million barrels of reserves. Sounds big until you compare it to Reed Bank's 5 billion barrels. That's like swapping a Tesla for a tricycle, but at least no one's threatening to steal the tricycle. And this brings us to the million-dollar question. Or should I say, the $26 trillion question. How long can Manila afford to sit on the sidelines while everyone else cashes in? The Philippines isn't exactly walking into this fight alone. Washington has been sliding closer like a protective big brother who also happens to own the world's largest navy. Under the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement, EDCA, the US now has access to more Philippine bases than before, including some very conveniently placed ones near Taiwan and the West Philippine Sea. Translation: if China thought Manila was going to be an easy target, well, surprise, America's already setting up camp in the backyard. Naturally, Beijing hates this. Every time the Philippines and the US shake hands, China acts like someone stole their lunch money. State media calls it provocation, diplomats call it destabilizing, and netizens call it, well, let's just say their memes aren't friendly. But here's the kicker: the Philippines doesn't actually have a choice. When your energy lifeline is about to vanish in 2027, you either drill, deal, or watch your economy flatline. And this is where Recto Bank, Reed Bank, becomes the star of the show. It's not just an oil field, it's the Philippines' golden ticket. Experts estimate it could hold 5 billion barrels of oil and 55 trillion cubic feet of natural gas. Enough to replace Malampaya, secure the country's energy needs, and maybe even flip the Philippines from energy beggar to energy boss. But there's one tiny problem: China also wants it, badly. So what's the game plan? Some analysts suggest the Philippines should launch exploration at Recto Bank with joint patrols alongside the US Navy. Imagine oil rigs drilling while US destroyers casually flex in the background. That's not just exploration, that's exploration with an attitude. Meanwhile, other Southeast Asian neighbors are already cashing in. Vietnam, Malaysia, Indonesia, and Thailand all pushed ahead with oil and gas development, even while dealing with their own disputes with China. Vietnam in particular has managed to pull off a balancing act, standing its ground, keeping exploration moving, and still managing not to blow up its diplomacy. Manila? They've been playing it safe since 2014, essentially parking the car while everyone else zooms past on the highway. But that play it safe era might be ending. The Philippine Department of Energy recently confirmed that President Marcos Jr. has greenlit oil and gas exploration in the West Philippine Sea, with Recto Bank at the very top of the list. That's not just paperwork, that's a middle finger aimed squarely at Beijing's so-called 9-dash line. Of course, China isn't going to clap politely and say, "Congratulations, neighbor." Nope. Expect more harassment, more Coast Guard theatrics, and maybe even some risky standoffs at sea. Because for Beijing, letting Manila drill freely is like admitting they don't control the neighborhood, and China really, really likes playing landlord. Here's the twist: Manila doesn't need to match China ship for ship. They just need enough US backing to make harassment costly. Think of it like bringing a big dog to the park. Suddenly, that bully who kept stealing your frisbee rethinks his life choices. And while all this drama unfolds at sea, the stakes back home are brutal. Rising energy costs, a looming supply crunch, and a population that won't tolerate blackouts. Filipinos don't care about maritime law footnotes. They care about affordable electricity. Which means Recto Bank isn't just about sovereignty. It's about keeping the lights on in every household from Manila to Mindanao. So now we've got the pieces set. A ticking energy crisis, a US-Philippines tag team, and a very angry China. The question is no longer, will Manila act? But how much heat can they take when they finally do? Here's the jaw-dropper. The Philippines isn't just sitting on a lucky jackpot. It's sitting on a $26 trillion treasure chest of untapped oil and gas within its 200-mile exclusive economic zone. That's trillion, with a T enough to flip the country from energy-dependent underdog to regional heavyweight. Forget winning the lottery. This is like finding out your backyard is sitting on top of Fort Knox. And international law? It's on Manila's side. The 2016 arbitral ruling under UNCLOS made it crystal clear. China's infamous 9-dash line has about as much legal weight as a fake Gucci bag. The tribunal said China has no historic rights to those waters, and that Beijing's attempts to bully Filipino fishermen and block exploration were flat-out illegal. Translation: the Philippines isn't just morally right, it's legally bulletproof. Of course, bulletproof on paper doesn't mean much when the China Coast Guard is circling your rigs in real life, but this is where allies matter. The more the US, Japan, Australia, and even Europe throw weight behind Manila, the harder it gets for Beijing to keep acting like the HOA president of the South China Sea. Meanwhile, let's not forget the bigger picture. If the Philippines unlocks even a fraction of those reserves, it could transform its economy. Imagine stable electricity, lower fuel prices, and maybe even becoming an energy exporter. No more praying international oil prices behave. Suddenly, Manila writes its own energy destiny. It's not just sovereignty, it's independence with a fuel tank. And while China keeps puffing its chest, the Philippines has already started moving the needle. The Malampaya gas project's contract has been extended until 2039, giving the country a little more breathing room while setting the stage for new investments. Even better, Malampaya is now Filipino-led after Prime Infra took over Shell's stake. That's a huge step, no longer just foreign operators, but homegrown players steering the ship. Here's the kicker. The Philippines doesn't even need to outgun China militarily. It just needs to keep drilling, keep building alliances, and keep the international spotlight shining on every attempted blockade or harassment. Because every time Beijing flexes, it makes Manila look like the scrappy underdog standing up to the neighborhood bully. And trust me, the world loves an underdog. At the end of the day, this isn't just about oil or gas. It's about a nation deciding whether it's going to stay energy dependent or finally cash in on resources that could change its future forever. The West Philippine Sea isn't just a map dispute. It's a test of willpower, sovereignty, and whether Manila is ready to claim what's already theirs. And here's the bottom line. The Philippines is at a crossroads. Sit back and risk blackouts, or push forward and light up the nation with its own resources. China's not going to make it easy, but then again, history has never been kind to countries that played it safe. So what do you think? Will the Philippines finally turn Recto Bank into a game changer, or will China's shadow keep the drills silent? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit that like button if you think Manila should go bold. And don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the stories shaping Asia's future. Because trust me, the next chapter in this energy showdown is going to be wild.